Welcome back, fellow shop rats. It's a Talk About It Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about camshafts. Roller cam, flat tappet cam, I don't know. Let's talk about it.
This is My Car's Shop.
My buddy John, who has the 66 Belvedere that you've seen me do a bunch of work on here on the channel, there's a playlist for it. There's a playlist for every project. He was putting a 408 in his Power Wagon that he's had for a long time. He bought years ago to put in Dakota, and it never ran right, and he kind of just pushed it aside and never got back to it, as so many of us do with projects when we have other things going. But he decided to go ahead and pull that motor out of that Dakota and drop it down into his old Power Wagon, and it wasn't running right. And he did some diagnostics on it and checked some cylinder pressure, and it had like 250 pounds of cylinder pressure, and it wouldn't rev, and it was popping back through the carburetor. And through discussion, we both realized that the cam timing was off, and he pulled it apart and fixed that. And that's another story for another time, and it's running great now. But the question that he had that I think is worth talking about, he was looking down in the valley and questioned whether or not he had roller lifters or if it was a flat tappet cam. And as I was saying to him, he immediately also recognized that roller lifters have a connector between two lifters to keep them from rotating in the bore, so the rollers stay perpendicular.
That's a big word, like gymnasium.
To the camshaft, so they don't rotate. But the question that he asked, so it was a flat tappet cam, but the question that he asked, which is what I want to discuss today, is can you put roller lifters on a flat tappet cam? Now, I want to make this clear that when we're talking about flat tappet cams, I'm not delineating between a hydraulic flat tappet and a mechanical flat tappet. That's another issue that we may touch on just briefly at the end here, but we're talking about the difference between a roller lifter, which is a lifter that has a little wheel on the bottom, versus a flat tappet one, which is a tappet that's flat, a lifter that's flat. The answer to that question is very simple and can make this a very, very short episode, and the answer is no. Well, that's going to do it for this one. I'm kidding. I'm going to explain why. Don't worry. We could leave it at no, but if I don't explain why, that'll leave you always questioning, or at least some of you questioning, well, why? Well, there's a difference in design and in the grind between a flat tappet camshaft and a roller tappet camshaft. Now, I'm using the words, for those that don't know, I'm using the word tappet and lifter interchangeably. It's just a term. So forgive me if I'm confusing you with that, but one means the same as the other, basically. So don't worry about that. That's just details. So anyway, can you use a flat tappet on a roller cam, or can you use a roller tappet on a flat cam? And the answer is no, and here's why. The camshaft is inherently designed differently, okay? A flat tappet has to rotate in the bore constantly to keep from wearing if the cam lobe is going over the same spot all the time, it's going to wear a U eventually in the tappet, in the lifter. And so you want that to rotate so that it's constantly wearing evenly on the bottom of that lifter and doesn't create that U that would wipe out the lifter and wipe out the camshaft. Now, that's just the opposite for a roller, because there's a wheel on the bottom of it, and it has to stay, perpendicular. Is that the right word? Perpendicular? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It has to stay, true, so that the roller always rotates with the cam lobe. If it turned, that would be catastrophic, because the cam lobe would catch the end of the roller, and it would gouge the lobe, wear the lobe off, wear off the edge of the roller, and, well, quite frankly, it probably would break something, and that wouldn't be good, and it would screw up valve train geometry. Terrible, and, well, there's nothing about it that would be a good thing.
So what's the difference in the design and the engineering and the grind?
Just tell me the answer, Mike.
Well, I was getting there, but since you asked, I'll tell you. The difference is simple. The cam is ground for a flat tappet flat lifter cam with a little bit of taper on the lobe, so that each time the cam lobe goes by, it causes the lifter to turn just a little bit. And if you ever watch an engine run and you can see the lifters, you'll see that they're in there. Every time the lobe goes around, they rotate just a little teeny bit. That keeps the bottom surface of that tappet wearing evenly. And of course, as we've already said, the rollers don't rotate. That would be a bad thing.
Bad thing.
Inherently in the design of the cam, on the lobe grind, there's just a slight taper. Very minimal, but a slight taper to cause those flat tappets to spin. On a roller cam, it's perfectly flat. You wouldn't want it ground at a little bit of an angle because, well, that would be pointless, wouldn't it? It would also cause weird wear on the roller, and eventually you would have a tapered roller. Now, we're not talking a huge amount. I don't think you can necessarily see it with the naked eye, but it's definitely, it's there is what I'm trying to say. That's pretty cut and dry, and things get a little bit muddy from here when we're getting into, can you use a hydraulic lifter on a mechanical cam, and vice versa. So let me explain what a hydraulic lifter is for those that don't know. A hydraulic lifter is basically a lifter that has a cushion of oil in it. It allows for some preload on the push rod and so forth, so that you never have to really adjust the valves. Where on a mechanical cam, you have to allow some clearance with a feeler gauge between the tip of the rocker and the valve stem, because there is no cushion in there. So oil pressure on a hydraulic lifter creates like a little bitty sponge almost that just allows for no valve train clatter, and it's a quieter valve train and kind of, in some ways, self-adjusting within reason. So the question begs, can you use a hydraulic lifter on a mechanical cam or vice versa? And the answer to that is pretty ambiguous. Maybe that's another big word like gymnasium. I don't know. The answer to that is yes and no and yes. There's too many variables. My buddy Joe over at Just Mopar Joe just talked about some of this. He's using a mechanical, I don't remember which way this goes, I apologize, but you can go check his stuff out. He's using either a mechanical roller on a hydraulic roller cam, or I think it's the other way around. I don't know. He's using one on the other, which generally isn't recommended, and I'll tell you why. But the roller world is a bit different than the flat tappet world, and this is why I can go back to my experiences 30 years ago when I was working in a hot rod shop and talk about this just briefly. We had a customer that brought us in a small block Chevy that he wanted us to build. It was going in a Pontiac Firebird, and it was like 11-to-1 pistons, and he had this big lumpy cam, and he bought some lifters for it, and it had some good, I don't know if they were 202 heads, I don't remember, Chevrolet stuff, and it's been a long time ago. But so I put this motor together, and we installed it in the car, and no matter what I did, I could not, they were hydraulic lifters, and no matter what I did, I could not get the preload set properly on those lifters. When I would set them to where they should be by spec, the valves would stay open. When I would release them, they clattered something awful because they weren't designed to run with valve clearance. And what we learned, what we finally figured out, was that he was using the wrong lifters. He had the cam, was told what the cam was, thought it was a hydraulic cam. It turns out it wasn't, it was mechanical. So we had to make a decision. Do we put hydraulic lifters in it, or do we order a hydraulic cam in it, or do we go ahead and order a set of mechanical lifters and just get that done that way? We happen to have a Crane Fireball 302 cam right on the shelf in the showroom for the hot rod shop, and he opted to go that way because it was like, back in those days, it was like $100 for a cam and lifter kit. Can't believe it was that cheap. Anyway, we threw that 302 Fireball in there, and he was on his way, and the thing ran like a raped ape. It was a great little car. I haven't taken the time to research the stuff that Joe told me, but I will tell you this. If Just Mopar Joe says it, you can 99% guarantee it's gospel. He knows his stuff. He's been doing this his entire life, and I'm interested to see how this motor runs that he's putting together with this lifter camshaft combination. And there's reasons for performance that I don't remember because I haven't studied it that much, but go check out his stuff. If you want to learn about engines, he's the man. I don't think I missed anything in this, but if I did, drop it down there in the comments and I'll come back and readdress it. I don't want to talk about stuff that I don't know a whole lot about, but I do know a little bit about this, and so, I'll talk about it. And I appreciate you watching. It's a fun topic, and if I'm totally wrong on this, you can, by all means, don't just tell me I'm wrong, but quote some sources and point me to some stuff down there in the comments, because I'm always learning too.
Remember that the day you stop learning is the day that you start dying.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. We'll catch you on the next one. We're over on the Face thing / My Car Shop. We are on the Instagramma. Instagramma loves us. She does us cookies. They might even be snickerdoodles.
You never know.
And of course, we're here on YouTube, so like, subscribe, share, all the stuff that helps the channel grow. Comment, go drop comments over on the community tab. We've got a great community here, and I appreciate every single one of you more than you will ever know. All right, that'll do it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. It's important, and we want to make sure that we always remember to rock!